Hey guys, welcome to the HVAC Diaries. This episode of the HVAC Diaries is brought to you by 𝐑𝐄𝐋𝐄𝐕𝐀𝐍𝐿. Hey guys, how are you guys this week? Did you have a good one? So this vlog is the week that I took a little vacation. I went to Vancouver Island with my husband to celebrate our 11-year wedding anniversary. So I don't have any HVAC adventures from this week because I was off, but I do have something for you today. Today's vlog is going to be all about the Salmon Hatchery job we did last month, the month before. So we were called to the Salmon Hatchery. They have a system there that cools the water down to 10 degrees Celsius because that's optimal for the eggs to hatch. Actually, the guy was telling us that if it's anything above 10 degrees Celsius, they lose like 50% of their eggs. They just die. They don't hatch. So the water temperature is critical. And so they had this system. They've had it there for like 18 years. It's been working beautifully this whole time until about 2 years ago when the thing just stopped working, or it started working less and less and less, until finally he called a company and they told him that they had a refrigerant leak. They topped it up. It lasted for about 2 years. And then he just couldn't find that company anymore. They just weren't answering their telephones. So he called around and got to us, which is awesome. And so that's what he told us. He was like, this system has been here for 18 years. It's got a leak somewhere. I don't know where. So let me explain how this system works as far as I understand it. So they've got a deep water well on site. The water comes out of that well at 12 degrees Celsius, which I think is pretty warm. I thought well water would be colder than that. But anyway, so it comes out at 12 degrees, and then they need to cool it down to between 4 and 10 degrees Celsius. 10 degrees is the max. So the water comes out of the well, it goes through the condensing unit, which is basically like a split AC unit. And this one is particularly for R407C refrigerant because of the low temperature that we need to achieve. Then it goes through this little heat exchanger, which is basically a coil. And it's got a TXV, like a thermostatic expansion valve on the top with distributors and a little pressure switch. And that's basically it. Let me show you these components before I continue.
So that's the deep water well that's on site. That's where the water comes from. And well, this is after we've replaced the unit, so I should have used a different video, but this is the system that the water goes through. This is that heat exchanger I was talking about with the distributor and the pressure switch. And this is the coil that cools down the water. Water goes in and water comes out. So this is the heat exchanger that we've removed from the casing. And this is how the water gets aerated. Once the water is cooled down, it goes into the building through these 3 pipes. And into this room, this incubation room. It goes through a set of filters and then into these troughs. All right, let's jump right into this job. So this is the first time we've put our eyes on this system. And before we do anything at all, we're going to start with a leak test. So we got our digital leak detector. We got nothing at all. So we're going to throw our gauges on and see what our pressures are like to see if we're actually low on refrigerant or not. And the system is low, so we're going to have to find this leak.
When we first arrived, we wanted to understand where the leak was. The system itself is pretty small. There's not a whole lot of line set refrigerant pipes to run in. It's very small. So what our plan was to disconnect, to separate the condensing unit from the heat exchanger. So we'd have a low side and a high side. separate from each other. And then we would pressurize both of the systems. We would pressurize the condensing unit and we would pressurize the heat exchanger. Left them under pressure, see which one dropped, if any.
In order to do that, we had to recover the remaining refrigerant and so that we could separate the systems. But we were also kind of curious to see how much refrigerant came out of it compared to what's on the nameplate. If I'm not mistaken, I think we were looking for 70 ounces, and we ended up pulling out 23 only. With all of the refrigerant out of the system, I can cut both the suction line and the liquid line. And Trevor's brazing in an access fitting on each of them. Now it's time to pressurize each of these systems with our fancy little access ports here. We're going to use nitrogen and we're going to take it up to about 300 psi. And we're going to leave both of them over the weekend. Then we will return the following week to see if we had dropped pressure at all. And we're really quite hoping that we drop pressure in the condensing unit only and not in the heat exchanger, because we really don't want to figure out how to prepare it. All right, all closed up for the weekend, and fingers crossed.
When we went back for our first check, unfortunately, both the heat exchanger and the condensing unit, that both dropped pressure.
All right, we're checking this guy first. Wah, wah. Actually, that's really good for us. All right, let's check the other one. All right, we're on the other side now. That's not good news. We were hoping for 300 psi.
The condensing unit, we said that it confirmed there was a leak in there. The heat exchanger, we suspect it was leaking from the access fitting, from the Schrader valve, because when I was standing there, I could literally hear it hissing. And I was like, that Schrader valve is not tight enough. So now we can't conclude whether there's a leak or not. So we pressurized the heat exchanger again for a second time. In the meantime, we ordered the condensing unit and got that all ready.
All right, we got our nitrogen back out, and we've pressurized this guy back up to 300 psi, and we're gonna leave her again. Fingers crossed.
Then we went back on the day to replace the condensing unit and to hopefully figure out if there was a problem with the heat exchanger or not.
How far in do you guys want to go?
What's our plan for getting this off? Alrighty, we're getting rid of this guy today. See ya.
And when we arrived, we checked that heat exchanger, and you guys, it had dropped pressure again. It had dropped pressure. So that confirmed that we had a leak in both the condensing unit and the heat exchanger. And we really didn't want a leak in the heat exchanger because it's so complicated. And well, it's not complicated, but it's just different to what we've worked on before. So we didn't really want to repair a leak. So before we replaced the condensing unit there, we did another very extensive leak test on the heat exchanger. And here's the crazy thing. We checked that heat exchanger for a refrigerant leak several times, more than 3 or 4 times, just because we were like, hey, we just want to check this again. We're just going to check this again. So we checked it several times. The one time we did check, after all of these pressure tests and everything, we detected a leak. Our leak detector was screaming. It detected a leak.
Okay, let's see what 300 does.
Okay, we got some.
Wow. That is what. There's no way we got that before.
No.
Why is it doing that?
So we got all excited. We're like, okay, we found the leak. There's a leak in here somewhere. Let's find it now. And when we did that, we tried to investigate further and pinpoint the leak. Gone. The leak detector, silent. Nothing. No leaks. So we're scratching our heads. We're going crazy. What the heck? We even brought out the heat gun. We're like, maybe Maybe once like the pressure goes up a little bit with heat, maybe that will show the leak, but nothing.
Getting anything?
Nothing.
Nothing? That was leaking.
It's the weirdest thing. That was... All right, so now we're getting serious. We have disassembled these water lines going in and out, and we're going to pull this whole heat exchanger out because perhaps the leak is somewhere. I mean, we're trying everything at this point. All right, so we got this whole thing out, and to be honest, it was kind of cool to see the inside. So we're leak testing again on every tiny little seal component, and we've got nothing. Until Trevor finally pulled the electrical connections off of the pressure switch, and we got something. And so we're going to go with that. So we bring out our new Calgon blue soapy solution and hope for some bubbles. All right, well, Trevor was our detective today, and this is our problem. So there's that mystery solved on this guy, and we are still going to replace this guy because it is also leaking. We confirmed that a couple weeks ago. So there you go.
Which is the most perfect situation for us because the pressure switch is so easy peasy to replace. So off the pressure switch comes, on the new one goes, and then we're done. So the day we replaced the condensing unit, we did not complete the installation because we wanted to make sure that that pressure switch was the only source of the leak in the heat exchanger. That there was no other leaks, that we got all excited about the one leak. We just had to confirm that before we went through the motions of completing the installation.
Why do I have such a hard time with this? Please don't be something hiding in there, please. Such a girl.
Sounds like if we had a feather. Start tickling your arm.
Don't even tickle my
That
arm.
little,
Oh, there's a worm.
that little spider just crawling up your arm.
Oh, there's actual worms in here. Oh, that's a fucking nest, I think. Here's our new unit, and as you can see, there's a whole lot less components in there.
No, that's cooling only as well. I'm telling Jess the reason why the wiring is different in this is because it's cooling only, not a heat pump. That's why it goes straight from thermostat to contactor. It doesn't go to the bundle, which then splits off and goes to the contactor.
This one's...
That's just a blank. So that's your transformer. That's going to your contactor. We traced all of those wires and I labeled each of them so I know exactly where to put them on in the new one. So once labeled, I pulled them all off of their connections, and now I just got to pull that bundle through.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we're under...
All right, after a little bit of a struggle, I got all of my electrical and controls pulled out. And now this thing is pretty much free. I can move it right out of the way. Yeah, let's get that down. Okay. Which direction are we going?
Swing it.
Going? Now I can start to wire up this new unit. I'm also going to add a transformer as well.
It's not going straight. It's not going on straight.
Want it closer to you?
Yeah, a tiny bit.
Oh, just pick up that little...
Yeah, got it. Okay, okay.
Stop welding in the back there. How mind you?
Yep, this is pretty close. Maybe we want to not do this and, I don't know, do the welding first, because then you can lift this up a little bit out of the way.
So I've added my transformer and done my electrical, and now I have to drill a hole or just increase that hole size to fit this bundle through.
If it is too small, I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah. Isn't there another wire that you're missing there? Looks like there's a wire.
No, they're all through now.
Oh, are they?
There we go. Ah, it's too small.
No.
Yes. That's not going through. Ah, so close. It's like a millimeter.
Yeah.
Okay, pull her out. Start again. That's fine. We'll have to do any one of those.
Got it in.
You may have been right. By like a millimeter.
Yeah, you know what the problem is?
That's all I freaking needed. Was a millimeter of space.
You know what the issue is?
What?
Is because that's a tapered bit,
Yeah.
so it doesn't actually cut the bottom portion of it the same size. If you had done...
Right, okay. Whatever.
But 9 times out of 10, when I think I've got it the right size, it's like, it looks exactly perfect, and it's just slightly off.
And then it's like, haha.
I just have to add a few of my own spade connectors so that I can connect these wires to where they have to go. Okay, so I got my pressure switch wired in, my transformer wired in, my electrical done.
Right, so that one's done. Yeah?
Okay.
This one is a blank.
Sure about that?
That's...
So we're going to reassemble the system and leave it for now. We have not completed the refrigerant lines because we've just left the heat exchanger under pressure again, just to make sure that that pressure switch is the only problem. And yeah, we're going to leave this for now.
So we had to go back a third, was it a third or fourth time? Anyway, a fourth time to check the heat exchanger under pressure. And you guys, it held pressure. We didn't lose an ounce of pressure in there, or an inch of pressure in there. So that was amazing. So that enabled us to finish the installation and the pipe work there. What do we got? 300, baby. Oh, magical. Magic.
No leaks here.
Yes.
So now we can finally complete this job. I love watching my dad bend pipe, but this one was pretty tricky.
You go at a 45.
Well, it depends on how you've measured it. That's what I don't know.
The only way you could do that is 45 bend here. So it's 45.
Okay, so shall I make a 90 there and then a 45 up again? A bit more.
That's it right here.
And this is my contribution to the pipe installation. Got some new Armaflex insulation for the suction line. I'm going to use some new Calgon Perma-Wrap tape to put that on properly. Now our system's on vacuum, and it went really quickly because our line set is so short. We've got all the pieces back together. And then charging her up with our 407C refrigerant using our field piece scale. And now we get to go inside and see where this water actually comes to and what the system looks like. And we are in business. We've got this thing going. Dad just needs to make a little adjustment to the TXV. And we are golden. We're very happy with how this job turned out.
And once we were done with all of that, we got a little bit of a tour on the inside so we could see where the water went to. And it's really interesting. It goes through a bunch of filters, and then it goes into these troughs where they keep the eggs for incubation. And then once the eggs hatch, the little fishes go into the next section, and there's bigger fishes in the next section, and it's just really cool to see that.
Look at the size of these waders. They're boots. Oops. They're boots that are the size of me. Wow, that's cool.
Well, you guys, that's all the adventure, the one single adventure I have for you on this week's HVAC vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a super interesting job for us, a little project, and we are very grateful that we were included in it. Hopefully that system will last them another 18 to 20 years. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. See you next week. Bye. Okay, so we were called to this salmon hatchery. They have a access port we think was a little bit not.
Just wanted to confirm that we're here.
Oh, that was so loud.
Not a tiny little...
Bam!
12 yeah.
So we found one problem.
Yes, no problem.
An R.
Thanks. I am so hungry. My stomach is like, pretty sure it's lunchtime.
You wanna...
Of the other batteries, 60...
No, it fits. It fits. It fits. It fits.